the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
Nearly there, folks, nearly there. We now have a new world champion. Well done, Artem Lagusa. And the playoffs have started and sort of stopped again. We can only hope that the weather lets them finish. But for once, let's be positive. We're nearly there. A fullish Speedway season. I think that not many of us thought we would get there at the beginning of this season. So thank your God for Speedway. Good evening and welcome once again to the Speedway Tavern. In the studio tonight we have the normal collection of retrobates. Mr. Chris Webby Browne.
Good evening.
Matt, I don't give a buck.
Good evening.
And myself, Michael. That's all you're getting for that one. Yeah, how is everybody?
And please make sure you say hello in the show box as
Yes,
well, please.
yep. And we'll say hello back. How is everybody?
Not bad, thank you.
Good. All good.
Yeah, you're good because you're still in the playoffs. You wasn't expecting to be by this point.
Yes, thanks for the weather. So
Yeah.
plenty to say about that, to be honest. But
Did everybody? Everybody okay yesterday with the old Facebook
Oh, it was
disappearing?
hell. It was absolute hell.
I didn't notice.
I had to speak to the wife for a whole 3 hours.
She must be needing therapy by now. Then.
come on, Anna, who unplugged it? So
So there's a few things that we should start off with.
It's been a pretty sad week, really, isn't it?
Really,
it
really
does.
has.
Awful.
If you're a Cradley supporter, Hull supporter, or Birmingham supporter, the news that Alan Grahame passed away, unfortunately, from the injuries of a motorcycle accident on Sunday. Yeah, devastating for me in particular. Alan Grahame was one of my first sort of sporting heroes way back in the day. Far too way back, I might add. A great rider.
underrated rider, I think you'd have to say, wouldn't you?
I don't think he was ever underrated at the teams he rode for.
I mean, generally, of course,
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get picked enough for Great Britain teams, test matches and stuff. The same can be said for his brother Andy, of course. But yeah, all the teams that rode for him and all the supporters that supported all those teams, they all knew what his worth was.
Yeah, he was always one of those riders that he was the sort of rider you'd love to have in your team, wasn't he?
And didn't like to have in somebody else's team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say. I mean, Big Al would probably admit this himself. He was always seen as a bit of a pantomime villain at Wolves,
Right.
predominantly because he seemed to turn into Hans Nielsen every time he rode there. To be honest, I mean, I can actually remember the last time I saw Big Al ride would have been 95, I think, when he's in his first season back at Hull in the one big league. Now, bearing in mind he would have been over 40 by then, and he came to Monmouth Green and scored about 14 points. He was absolutely superb. I think he beat Samuel Malenko actually, which was no mean feat at Monmouth. But I think he was a rider at the same time that everybody had a huge amount of respect for. I mean, I can't say that I knew Alan particularly well. Obviously, he was very good friends with my dad, and he was very, very enthusiastic supporter of Cycle Speedway as well. Both him and Andy, to be honest, and they whenever they were invited to the club to support events or to make presentations, neither of them ever let the club down. So, and obviously with Sandwell, I mean, predominantly they were Speedway fans and Cradley supporters, so he was treated like one of their own there, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I know he started his career at Birmingham. I suppose he would be always regarded more as a as a Cradley man, to be honest. But I mean, he had a very successful period at Birmingham, didn't he?
And the only reason that came to an end was because he had an injury, and he came back from the injury, wanted to go back into the team, and Joe Thurley said, no, we'll give it a few weeks. And Alan was not happy about that, so he went off to join Cradley. And to say that I was distraught at that point.
I was going to ask, what was the feeling when he did? Because swapping Birmingham for Cradley, I suppose, would have been seen as a cardinal sin.
He was always given a great reception at Birmingham. Even after that, I think there was an understanding of why it happened.
At the end of the day, he was vindicated, though, wasn't he? Because he joined Cradley, and they had that. In the midst of that golden period they had in the late 70s and throughout the 80s, he won pretty much everything. And of course, one thing that people tend to overlook as well is he rode in the 84 World Final as a reserve.
Yes.
Had 2 rides, won one, second in the other one.
Yeah, which is not bad going. Bad going.
So,
what else can I say? I can say this: you saw Alan Grahame ride much later than that.
Yeah.
You saw Alan Grahame ride in 2007, I think it was. It might have been 2008.
Did some match races, didn't he, with Andy?
Against Andy, yeah. So, but and of course he was a fixture at Perry Bar because he was a machine examiner. So he was always in the pits, always with his characteristic smile on his face. And I did get the chance to meet him once. Sat down and had a meal with him. And it was, I was in awe, if I'm honest. I was like, I couldn't get my chin up off the floor, and it just regaled me with lots of different stories and stuff. And it was just a really charming,
nice guy, wasn't he? Nice guy, big Al. Hard as nails on the track,
yes,
but a lovely guy off it.
Well, that's how you've got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So. And of course, the sad news doesn't end there, unfortunately. Whereas the day before we got the untimely news of the death of Colin Pratt.
We did indeed, yes. I mean, Colin obviously did everything, didn't he? He was a very competent rider back in the 60s. Of course, qualified for a world final. I think it was 67. Mm-hmm. He got there. And
I didn't know about that until I saw the obituaries.
But I think really it was his management career that was probably what made him more famous. Of course, he went to Cradley after Peter Adams left Cradley at the end of '83 to reopen Wolves, and really it would have been a massive tall order for him because Cradley had that ultra strong team in '83 and he had to break that team up, didn't he, to confront with the points limit. And didn't manage to win a league championship at Cradley. That's probably the one thing that he would have bitterly regretted. And even though he won league championships at other clubs, but they had a phenomenal record in the Knockout Cup and other things like that. I think he was at Cradley for about 12 years as their team manager, and then obviously left when they temporarily moved up to Stoke, of course, because I think it's fair to say he probably didn't see any future.
Speedway.
He probably didn't see any future in Speedway for Cradley at that stage.
Mind you, I've just said only in Speedway, but you've got Coventry football team at Birmingham City, haven't you?
They've gone back now.
They've gone back, but it did happen.
Doing very well, by the way.
We could be sharing their ground soon.
But obviously then went to Hackney for a season, but the ill-fated London Lions bid in '96. Then I think he had a season at Bradford. They won the league, and then he joined Coventry, and Coventry had that phenomenal period of success. I mean, they hadn't won a league championship since '88 when he went there, and they had a few near misses, but they won 3 league titles during his tenure there. And let's not forget, of course, alongside Eric Burcott was phenomenally successful as the national team manager, and of course both him and Eric Burcott remain the last managers to bring a gold medal.
Yes,
actually, Shores in the team event with the World Team Cup win in '89. So a man who really did everything, and of course was involved with Swindon as well, and obviously up until the time of his death, of course, was still not heavily involved, but was a partner at Peterborough as well. So a man who was very, very passionate about the sport, served the sport for many, many years, and along with Alan Grahame, two people who really represent a golden period for Speedway in the West Midlands. So our hearts and thoughts and condolences go to both Colin and Alan's
absolutely. I have got a little niggle
Oh dear. You can get it fixed, you know.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some ointment you get for it as well.
I say these things, and as soon as I say them, I know what's coming the other way, and it's just no.
You've made your bed.
Alan Grahame, as we said, was a good servant for all the clubs that he served at, including Birmingham. And my niggle is that there's been nothing on the Birmingham website about Alan Grahame.
I know. We know
nothing
they
on
put
the
it on. Yeah, we know they put it on Twitter. But
yeah, and nothing on the BSPA, or BSPL, I should say, website.
All right.
Which is disappointing.
it's disappointing. Yeah.
That's a shocker.
A bit of an oversight there, I think. So.
When
Well, if it comes, if it comes on tomorrow, we know the BSPL listen to this show, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, right, okay. And when was the last time you looked? Was it today,
About
or?
5 minutes ago.
Oh, right, okay. That's disgusting.
Not good.
It's disappointing. It's disappointing.
If anybody's got any memories of both of them, please put them
Yeah.
in the chat and we'll read them out. So.
Absolutely.
Darren says, R.I.P. Big Al, one of the nicest bloke I've ever met in Speedway. I'll go back to evening, chaps. That time of week game, a week of frustration for the Premiership playoffs, and also a very sad week for the world of Speedway. Sad news about Colin, Pratt and Big Al. After a legacy behind, though fans for generations to come will know their names and what they did for the sport. Big frustrated Wolves meeting was off last night. I think Wolves would have progressed last night, to be honest. Thursday puts the advantage back to them, with MPT likely to be back. The joys of October weather.
Yeah, I think that story's going to run and run as well. Yeah. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Dave. And John Birds has a question, so let's get into that.
Evening, guys. What do you think of the new 10-year structure for FIM Speedway? GPs, Speedway of Nations, Speedway World Cup. It looks amazing. And structure for under 21s and under 16s. Plus countries involved. It's massive worldwide push for Speedway. Now is the time that the BSPA need to step up and put a big push in the sport in the UK, even more this winter, with a complete new structure and plans for the next 5 years short term.
We'll definitely come back to that, because I've got controversial things possibly.
Oh, I like it when you have controversial things. I really do. Yeah, definitely a sad week. REP both, says John Bird. Evening all, another happy Aces fan here, still only half time, but what a meeting at Sheffield last night. Track staff deserve massive credit for how well they prepared the track, and the 30-minute delay was well worth it. Aces support was superb, it was bouncing.
And possibly Sheffield fans might have a different perspective on that.
Alan Grahame and Phil Collins, what a great pairing in the early 1980s.
Classic engine room pairing, weren't they? I mean, he had a great pairing with Simon Cross late in the later years as well for Crately. So
it was an amazing effort the Sheffield track staff did last night to get the track raceable. So, Simon.
Let's do Melanie Gibbon.
Okay, Melanie Gibbon.
Yep.
The new people say they want to promote it more, but Discovery platform is limited. It will only work if you have Sky Q or e-computer. I use my phone for internet, so couldn't watch that way. And not everyone has a PC.
I think most people have got a PC.
You can watch it on. You might be able to watch it on your phone. Although I know that there's an app the Discovery Plus app that you can
watch it on your phone.
You can probably watch it on anything these days. Yeah.
I mean, what I have to say, I mean, they're clearly very enthusiastic and have got big plans to try and push Speedway's appeal out.
Again, I'm going to be controversial.
Some of it I think is not really been sort of fully explained yet. So I think it'll be expanded on in due course.
Brian Buck said, let's also remember with great affection another ex-Brummet. I forgot about, yes, absolutely, and ex-Cradley man Harry Bastable, whose funeral took place this afternoon. It was standing room only at the crematorium, and everyone said farewell to Harry after a very moving ceremony. So, I mean, obviously that's the ride of that. I mean, I know Stevie B more than Harry Bastable, but
Good evening, Barry Bishop as well. Yeah.
You'll know about this more than me, I think. Matt, Big Al putting Bruce Cribb's dislocated shoulder back in place on the
I've
track.
heard that story before.
Have you not? I heard it.
British was a bit before my time, I think. So.
Anthony Bailey, how can British Speedway realistically be improved? Well, there's a 64. Have we got long enough to answer that question?
We seem to have been talking about this for the last 10 years.
We have, yeah. So.
You need one man with one vision.
Yeah.
That'd be like a great song, wouldn't it?
And a lot of money.
Yeah, and money. Yeah.
Yeah, and more than £100.
You need somebody like Discovery to come in for British Speedway and do what they're doing for World Speedway.
I don't know whether there's any plans for them to branch out into League Speedway as well.
Well, more of that in a moment.
Yeah.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says, I think the future of SGB sounds fantastic. It would be nice if something similar happened to British Speedway too. He's just read our minds. Discovery have a fantastic vision for the sport. As I understand it, they are the parent company of Eurosport, so I'd hope the GPs will be back on Eurosport. I believe they will be.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion is much more accessible than BT Sport. Right, let's just leave it at that because we're going. Dylan Spuddy wants to talk about the wild cards. That's certainly something that we want to talk about. So I actually sat through the Discovery presentation. Well, I say I sat through it. I sat through the first 15, 20 minutes of it, and then I fell asleep. It was riveting stuff. It's what why these things always are. It was very slow, really. So everybody's talking about it being one vision. It is, as far as the world stage is concerned, but it does absolutely nothing for League Speedway in this country, in any of the countries, and that's my big worry about it.
Yeah, that is a bit of a concern, isn't it? So
it's like that they're talking about having grassroots speedway events and stuff like that, and I'm going, that sounds dangerous. That sounds like they're trying to sidestep the sort of league racing in all these different countries, and that worries me.
Well, they haven't. I don't know whether they've fully gone through it yet and decided that way. We don't know. It's all sort of been loosely planned out at the moment, isn't it? I think there's the like you got in F1, you've got F1, F2. This of course there's SGP1, SGP2, and I think there's an SGP4 as well planned, but they haven't really said anything about that one yet. But obviously you've got to wait and see what they plan. To be honest, I mean, they've got a vision that they want to sort of increase the global appeal of Speedway, which can't be a bad thing in that sense.
I mean, it just worries me.
Yeah. Just seems to be leaving the leagues to do as they want.
Yeah, to fend for themselves and do as they want, and they almost seem to be saying, and we're going to get our riders from different places.
Yeah.
That's how it's sort of come across a little bit to me. So that worries me. But then I'm old-fashioned. I like my League Speedway. For me, that's the best form of Speedway.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree with that, wouldn't they?
There are people out there that don't, but, and they might come up on here in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, we just ignore them.
Well, again, like we ignore you.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, let's go on to Dylan Spuddy Hodgett's thoughts if you want to read those.
Thoughts on the wild cards. That one, yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thoughts on the wild cards that were announced earlier. I think they're good. They're good picks to have, and I'm glad from a British point of view that Lambert is back in. But it's a bit frustrating that it's always the same faces, although it's nice to have no polls in the pick this time around.
Okay, talking about no polls. We haven't got a poll this week.
No, we haven't. No.
Right, picks are Jason Doyle, Robert Lambert, Leon Madsen, Anders Thompson and Martin Vasilik. I would say at the moment,
who's lost out? I mean, who would you say is lost out on that could possibly be in a pick? Because that seems reasonable to me.
yeah, that I would say that they are probably the 15 strongest riders in the sport at the moment. So
Possibly Robert Lambert may feel a little bit lucky, but he had a good last few meetings, didn't he?
he did, yeah. So he sort of got to grips with the JPs a little bit in the latter stage of the season. I think they were always going to. I mean, Jason Doyle, I think, was predominantly because of his world championship in 2017. I think the ones the other Australians that are coming up behind him may be a little bit not quite ready for the GP just yet. Talking maybe the likes of Jack Holder, for example, I think he's probably a couple of years away from that at the moment. The big thing, of course, is no Swedish riders in there, which I think is a big damning about the where Sweden are at the moment. To be honest,
that's possibly the one that's lost out, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously Freddie Lindgren's in there, but I mean, Freddie's quite some way above the other riders that are racing in Sweden at the moment, unfortunately.
Could the same be said? Oh, that's the way, isn't it?
Well
could the same be said for Waffend and Lambert?
Well, the only other one really is Dan Bewley, isn't it? So, and again, maybe not quite at that level just yet. Getting there.
Yeah, I mean that race that you mentioned the other week was something else.
Just a bit, yeah. I mean, you think of Tony Ricarson's wall of death, and he didn't do it for 4 laps, did he? So,
okay, so yeah, what do you guys think about those picks? Is there somebody that you wouldn't have had? I mean, you talk about it's the same old faces, but out of those faces that were picked, is there somebody in there that you wouldn't have had, and who would you have had instead of? So, what would basically what I'm saying is, what would your picks have been?
Yeah.
Why didn't I just say that? I have to complicate things. I don't know.
Craig Smith says the ambitious plan to almost treble the following of the SGB fan base surely will mean that it will not be that if it's not shown on Eurosport, then a new channel will have to be launched. I can't see it being a Discovery Plus online subscription. Only surely that would turn fans away, and only the diehards would probably subscribe. It would attract a new audience, would it?
they need to try and get it onto free to air if they can. I think so, because that's where the launch area is.
Sometimes with Eurosport, some of their stuff goes on Quest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's free to air. But you never know when it's going to come on. It's not publicised much.
I mean, in America, it's subscription. Everything's subscription, isn't it? It's subscribe to everything. So maybe it's just one of those things that eventually we'll all be doing.
So is their National Health Service.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think of that as America as being a great model to go for, if I'm honest. Is there any more?
I like the idea of a 2-day Cardiff, though. If you're too sloshed to watch the first meeting, at least you've still got the second you can watch.
That's going to be an interesting one. There's obviously an SGP2 at Cardiff, which is effectively the under-21,
right? Which
is going to be on the Sunday after the. Be interesting to see how the track stands up at Cardiff to 2 meetings on back-to-back. Obviously it's never done that before. The only thing that would, from a personal perspective, I mean, obviously I've done every single Cardiff since it started, but what the costs would be for attending both meetings, we don't know. You would imagine that if you do attend both meetings, I mean, you're not going to.
There would be a price knocked off the individual price of each meeting.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go to Cardiff on the Saturday, come home back to Stourbridge, and then drive back over to Cardiff on the Sunday for the second one, are you? You're going to have to really. And
can you park overnight?
Yeah, for a short you probably can. Yeah. So, and obviously accommodation as well. It's not cheap staying in Cardiff, to be fair. So,
particularly on Speedway weekend.
Yeah.
What do you think to Team GB versus Poland match, guys? We was talking about this earlier. We don't know an awful lot about it. Is the truth?
Well, two things I would say about it. One, I think Glasgow have got to be commended for putting something like this on. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is, of course, we've got this current situation. We're trying to get all the playoffs in.
Yeah.
Are they, end up running out of dates?
well, we mentioned it before, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. We need more test matches. I think test matches are something that you can sell to the press.
Yeah, I would like to. I would like to see us Team GB racing in a test match in Poland over there. To be honest, because I think it would be good. I mean, fair enough. We'd probably get thumped the first few test matches, but
and the rest.
But it's but it'd be a good experience because the young British riders, for me, if they're going to be top riders, they have to go and ride on these big overseas tracks.
Oh, now this is interesting. Do you want to read what Craig Smith said? I haven't heard about this.
I've seen something on Facebook tonight about the potential of Sweden GB and Denmark working together to counteract the rumours of Poland not allowing their riders to ride for any other team.
Interesting.
I've not seen that at all.
No. It wouldn't surprise me if Poland did that. I'm not entirely sure whether legally they would be able to, because that's sort of, I don't, because you're restricting people's access to earn a living.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Kubera lost out.
Yeah, he's one that you could probably argue. Yeah, maybe would have been in there. So
he's not really done anything though, has he? This year, it's been poor, really.
Yeah. Do you want me to
keep going.
read Dylan's?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
There's no way they can make that work, in my opinion. It's tough to get into Polish Division 1 team, so as it is. So no matter how much money is thrown at them, I don't see riders doing that. Saw with Woofy and Freddie this season, they had to take on a second league to try and keep the laps in and stay busy.
That's true. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Watch that space. Oh, apparently it's 3-day in Cardiff because the under-16 is on Friday.
Right, yeah.
So there's going to be a match before the Grand Prix on that track. This is going to be interesting.
Cool.
That might do the Saturday meeting good, to be fair, if they've got some riders on the track beforehand.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Speedway World Cup being every 3 years? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's what it should be. It's like that in every other sport. It makes it much more important.
I'm not so sure about the idea of having all the meetings over 5 days on the one track. But
well, it depends on the track, I suppose. It's not going to be at Cardiff, is it?
No.
So when is it run now? Is it every year?
Well, no, because it's been sort of replaced by the Speedway of Nations at the moment.
Yeah.
It was run every year. Yeah, the Speedway World Cup was run every year.
That's ridiculous.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, there's no sort of real fate to having it because you've only got it for 12 months. Unless you call it Poland and they wouldn't.
Speedway World Cup 2023 Torun. 5 consecutive days. Balmy, says Simon Corbett.
Depends. Well, I mean, the Polish tracks are,
they've got the equipment to do it.
They've got the equipment to do it. So I don't know whether you could run 5 days in a row on a British track, to be honest. But
not even Bellevue, probably.
No.
It depends. I mean, I don't know enough about it to comment. I mean, apart from the track issue of it, I presume it's different. Come back. I presume it's different teams each day, is it? Or is it like, are they qualifying?
I would think so, yeah.
Alan says, I'm sorry I'm a bit late tonight. Just had lovely Indians. Well, I hope you put them back.
Get out now. Sorry.
I'm out for the blue light to flash outside the window.
I love the fact that Glasgow have joined up and are leading the way for the first British team to do a deal with Speedway Challenge Game 2. They've officially licensed it now. I ride for a Glasgow team on the game in the SC UK League. So it's nice to see them come on board and hopefully more British clubs to follow. It's only a game, but it's still some promotion for the sport in the country.
I've got that game on my phone. It's a really good game. It's free as far as I'm aware. Still,
Speedway Challenge Game.
What's it called? I'll have a look at that as well.
We will check that out and do a review of it for next week.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So pleased we have a test match at Glasgow, says Richard Hill.
How much better if it was a 3-test match or a 5-test match, or you know,
just a
it's
shame.
just not in October.
Yeah,
though.
it's just a shame, really. It's in Glasgow, isn't it? Because it's quite a trek for us to go up it down here. So, but,
just a bit.
Yeah, but you got to. I mean, fair play to Glasgow, though. I mean, 10 years ago, this was a club that was struggling to survive, and now they've got a position where they're able to stage test matches and have the rides, lots of Bart Smarsley ride in there. So,
Hoping for something like that at Birmingham, but which we probably should talk about, but we'll leave it a little bit later, I think.
Yeah. What's next on your list then?
We're all caught up on the shout box now.
Okay, there was a lot of stuff going on at Showbox. Keep it going, guys. Keep it going.
Oh, there we go. The Speedway World Cup format won't change much. 2 semi-finals, a race-off and a final. Presuming the final will change to a 2-day event like the Speedway of Nations, says Craig Smee.
Sounds like it. That's
possibility.
That's gonna. I think that would even challenge me. 5 days of Speedway like that. I think I'd be going, oh no, I can't watch it. I think even I would.
Would you say in that voice as well?
No. We're talking about the game again. It's free for the basic game. It's around £4 for online mode, but within the SC UK League, you get a full league programme, plus Knockout Cup and British Championships, etc., plus options to ride for Polish and Swedish clubs. So it's great and quite realistic.
Ooh. Yeah, you get the Fed, you get the proper tracks on as well. You got all most of the Polish tracks in the top league.
Okay.
There's a few of the British tracks on as well.
I will check that out this week, and we will do a review next week. And
interesting. We have caught up almost.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll come to your thing in a minute, Barry. Absolutely. Let's have a look at the state of the playoffs as far as I can work it out, because it's all a bit all over the place. First thing, of course, is let's talk about the National Development League, which hasn't got playoffs, and that's looking like a 2-horse race between Berwick and
I think Berwick have finished their matches now.
Mildenhall. Berwick have finished their matches. Mildenhall have got 2 matches in hand, and I think there was something like 3 points.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit more than that, actually, but they've got enough matches anyway to overhaul.
Yeah.
So it's all down to them now.
It is, yeah. So obviously, what are the matches that they've got?
We've got the fixture list in our brand new fixture list.
We have, yeah.
So we can.
We're getting better at this, aren't we?
Yeah, it's only took us
12 years.
Yeah. 12 years, yeah. There we go.
So we're looking for NDL and Kent versus Mildenhall.
Yep.
That'll be a tasty meeting then.
It will indeed, yeah.
And Kent against Bellevue at home.
Kent versus Leicester, of course, on the 12th. Further up.
I'll miss that. Yeah. So but it's the Mildenhall matches that are the important ones at this point, aren't they, really? So that's one. So they've got a few matches, got a couple of matches to get in yet.
Just a bit, yeah.
Hopefully they.
That's cool. That fixture list goes up to the 26th, so it doesn't leave them a lot of time, does it?
No.
Yeah, I've got my own views on this business of deciding all the playoff finals in October.
When you've only got 6 teams in the
6 teams in the league, and you're still struggling to get the dates in. It's only British Speedway could do that, couldn't it? So, but this is just. I mean, we had this a couple of years ago, didn't we? I think somebody put a post on the BSF a few days ago listing about 8 or 9 big meetings in October 2019. They got rearranged because of rain. I mean, you're leaving yourself in with really chancing it fine by leaving it till right to the end of the season when you can't rely on the weather in October. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't rely on the weather in October. But
you can get some nice days, but
certainly not in October when
can snow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there has been some snow.
We have.
Well,
in 2019 we had that. I'm sure we had that playoff semi-final against between Wolves and Swindon that got rearranged about 3 or 4 times, and in the end it was run on a wet night simply to get the meeting in, and it spoilt the meeting.
Okay, so I'll set that off.
Somebody's talking about the wives won't be happy with 5 solid days of Speedway.
Yeah. I reckon the divorce lawyers will be busy though, and Facebook will crash again with the amount of people going back to single on there because of Speedway. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I could give Speedway plugs.
Well, yeah.
Stuff.
Mildy have away to Kent and Armadale. Ooh, that's
tricky meetings.
Yeah, that's tough.
Any thoughts on your? We've done that one, have we?
No.
Any thoughts on Eurosport not covering both semi-finals, second legs live on Thursday? Sky and BT used to show both meetings on 2 nights.
I'm a little bit underwhelmed by Eurosport's coverage.
Okay,
I've got to be honest.
Because.
Well, I mean, they had a camera. I think they had a camera crew up at Sheffield on Monday. So you know, I mean, okay, it might have been one camera, and you got Dave Rowe there, who's perfectly competent at staging commentary. So you know, they could have. I mean, there's no reason for me why they couldn't have shown that. To be honest, just to get some Speedway in. To be honest, I think some of the graphics I'm not convinced about. They're sort of all over the place. The camera angles, they just sort of switch so quickly. It can be a bit disorientated sometimes when you're only looking at one camera angle for a couple of seconds, then another one, then another one.
Yeah, I never did like massive different cameras, I must admit.
Yeah.
But on any sport situation.
Yeah, I'm a little bit underwhelmed by it, to be honest. I know it's only the first year, but again, they must be frustrated though, Eurosport, because again, as Sky, and I think in the end got as well with Speedway. You go to meetings, you spend all that money setting everything up, and then because of the rain, there's no racing.
Happens in other sports. It happens in cricket, for instance.
Although in fairness, you could argue that cricket, they don't restage matches, do they? They just award the points equal and then move on.
Well, let's not start doing that. Good God!
Well, they might have to start doing it the way they're going. So.
A big shout out for our last round of the Ireland Masters on the 14th of October. Kennett, Shanes, Wright, Appleton, Wurtsfield, and so on. From Barry Bishop.
Yeah,
they've got to be applauded for what they've done down there, haven't they? So.
Yeah.
We keep promising that we're going to go down there and have a partake of their training school down there.
I thought you were going to say lager then.
It's not because we didn't want to. There's all sorts of things that have been going on in the background that stopped us from doing that. But Barry, if the offer's still on, we'll be there next year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do a show maybe from there.
That would be cool.
Interesting.
That would be good, yeah, absolutely.
We're not going to get rugby tackled when you walk into the gate, so yes.
You ain't coming in.
It won't be the first time. Can't work that out. I don't feel they need to have a camera crew stationed at both meetings. Surely the main broadcast has the camera crew and the other meeting has one camera stationed at the start-finish line and recorded in the same format as Clean Cut Sport. Eurosport could bounce from the main broadcast to the other meeting.
Yeah, the only... Yeah, there's no reason why they could... I mean, the only slight drawback would have been, of course, remember the days when they had both the semi-finals on the same day and they used to go from one to the other, and it was fine if you're watching it, but if you were at the meeting, it was a bit torturous, to be honest.
We had that against Paul, and it was torturous, given that we were losing so much as well.
Yeah.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says, I feel a bit for Eurosport being bashed a bit for not showing both legs. It's not easy, especially if rearranged. I think they could have shown from Sheffield last night. They could have a live meeting, and the Wolves won Thursday too. I was looking forward to going to the Cleveland Arms to watch the Wolves meeting with fans together, but now that's ruled out. I hope the Eurosport coverage is a work in progress. I think it is a work in progress.
It's B, isn't it? So.
Dylan also says, but then on the other hand, Eurosports are contracted for 18-minute meetings per year. We're then missing at least two of the 4 semi-final meetings already, plus a couple of league meetings. Surely somewhere that would class as a breach of contract. Not sure how it works, but if they sign to show 18 live meetings, surely they have to make every effort to do that.
I don't think you can bash them for that, because they also signed to have a more than a 6-team league. So, Yeah, it's all. And we have to remember that in any criticisms that we do this year on anything really, is that it's been one hell of a tough year for
has been a tough year,
everybody
yeah.
involved.
Yeah. Tough 2 years, really. Barry's come back. Yes, both options, lager and my first skid, can be arranged. Obviously, lager second.
Yeah, it might be a good idea, I think, so.
I think it used to add to the atmosphere when at the Speedway, and it used to bounce from meeting to meeting. Some clubs used to put up a big screen so fans could watch the other meeting in between races. That's a great idea.
Well, that's what Sky did. I mean, they did it, but the problem with it is that you've got a Speedway meeting that you can watch while you're waiting for your meeting to go, but it makes the meeting go on.
It does. That's the problem.
And when you've got a curfew like at Birmingham, that's a bit of a worry.
Yeah. I've always said there's an element with the TV when you're there. There's that you're almost regarded as a TV extra, except you've paid for the privilege of doing it. So.
Richard Hill says loved it when Sky showed Championship as well as Premiership. Well, I would love it if Championship got off their bottoms and did what happens in football and get somebody showing their league. But,
Eurosport are not the only ones calling off the meetings, says Anthony Van.
No, not the ones.
Not the ones, sorry.
Calling off the meetings,
Then again, you're getting quite a few meetings that seem to be getting called off on reading the weather forecast, don't you? And then on the day, the weather's forecast is completely wrong. In the
again, you've got to look at that in context with the sort of season that people are having on the back of COVID, and they're not prepared to take the chance on people turning up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot.
There used to be nothing worse than the double-header meetings. Makes it so hard to keep track of what's going on, says Ben Clifton.
That's why you have a scorecard, isn't it?
And Ben Clifton is our current Speedway
I'm not
UK
sorry.
Speedway champion.
I'm
as
not
well.
sorry in that case.
He'll be passing on the T-shirt this week because we've only got one. So he's got. He'll be passing on the T-shirt.
Is that the one you've been wearing for the last 6 weeks?
No, Ben's got it.
We was going to look at Sheffield 40, Bellevue 50 in the Premiership in the first leg. Nobody picked that, I don't think.
I think one person. I think Craig picked Sheffield, Bellevue to win, not by that many.
And obviously it's old news now, but Wolves lost by 2 points at Wolverhampton.
Yep.
The only the only team through is Poole at the moment.
Yeah, that's it.
Football is on every night. 2 or 3 games a week. More Speedway, the better, says Craig Schlein.
Okay.
I just like saying Schlein.
Okay. I mean, I can't disagree with any of that. Let's, yes, Dylan Spuddy Hodgett's the news about Birmingham.
Oh, right, yeah. Positive to hear that people are interested in buying Browne already. Hopefully something can be done and the fans know they have a team for next season, etc. I hope the Brummers will be back. Yeah. Mike is talking a hell of a lot tonight. I was expecting him to have a sore throat from chewing on Edinburgh on Sunday at Redcar.
Yeah. He talks a lot most nights to me, so.
I have got a sore throat, actually.
Yeah.
It is positive, the stuff that to hear that there's stuff going on in the background and people are interested. I have my own thoughts on what might be happening, but I ain't going to say anything. I mean, first thing is a big shout out for Lawrence Rogers, who's
he's
put in
working
a lot of
tirelessly,
work.
isn't he, to get
he's worked hard,
yeah.
I mean, he's worked hard all season. He's virtually lived at that track. I mean, you talk about divorce rates coming up, going up. His wife must be a saint. Or maybe he's not, and that actually works better that way. I don't know. there is that.
Right. Okay. The most important thing of the night here is the league tables for the Speedway Tavern.
We'll talk about
this is by the way, this is the correct league table. By the way, I did make a bit of a pig's ear of the.
We have tried correcting it, but we couldn't get on for some reason. So,
but this is correct, is it?
It is correct.
It is correct.
That really can't be right.
It is, yes. I am. Yeah.
Ultimately goes to winning the World Championship. Not only winning the World Championship, but was driving a big wedge between my two co-presenters in the scoreboard. So
Yeah, it looks like the T-shirt is on its way to Simon Corbett, I think. I don't think you can be caught now, can I?
Not unless
Well,
I,
let's have a look.
not unless I come up with some rule that gives me 70 points or something. You know.
Well, it's just Speedway, so
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah. Let's have a look at the. I presume the camp meeting is still on. I'm suspecting as Ben's on that it's off, but that's what I'm guessing anyway. So
While you're looking at that, Barry Bishop says previously the broadcast partner had all rights to the sport, so Championship probably cannot seek to sell the sport elsewhere. We had the same problem when we had interest from Africa for National League racing from the island. I'm not entirely sure that that's true.
yes, sorry, Kent is off. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm not entirely sure that that is true with this current deal. I think Eurosport have just brought the Premiership. I'm pretty sure that's because they haven't they done a deal with another company for doing online broadcasts and stuff. I don't know what happened with that, but so I don't know.
I wonder if they're going to start looking at streaming. Streaming would have been an absolute godsend in the early weeks of the season when you couldn't get people into the stadiums.
Well, of course, Glasgow.
I think they. Well, I mean, I looked at the on the updates website at the Sheffield Bellevue meeting last night, and there was about 2,000 people on there at one stage. So if you've got a streaming service and that many people are on, it's a nice little earner.
Dylan says, I need to sort out my format for these predictions. Started off well and now drifting off. Still nice and clear of Chris, but want to get Elio and the couple above. I'd like a podium, to be honest.
Okay,
Don't know.
I just want to beat you.
I know you do, yeah. we need
Ben Clifton wants to know whether he should wash his T-shirt before he sends it to Simon.
Depends on what you've been doing with it. So.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can keep this one, Ben.
Yeah.
We need to get to our fixtures then, don't we? And
Indeed,
get
yeah.
this sorted because it's now
Oh gosh, it's 10
to 9.
Let's
I
go.
know, you've been rabbiting so much.
It's been an interesting night.
It has, yeah. It's been very interesting.
Right, so
There you go.
for those of you out there that haven't taken part in this before,
Still
why
play.
not?
Still play. It's
Yeah,
bit of-
absolutely play.
bit of fun.
You can still beat Lawrence Rogers,
Yeah.
who has just been called one of the best things ever to come to Birmingham Speedway by Ruth Hannah.
Things.
Well, but let's just go back to when he first came and all the people saying nasty and horrible things about Lawrence Rogers. He's turned that around.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Lawrence. I mean, he's always been very, he's always very good with me in the pits whenever I spoke to him. He's always very sociable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so. And I know from seeing him in the pits how hard he works every week.
Oh God!
To be honest, he doesn't stand still. He
doesn't
doesn't stand still for longer than 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
So-
not just then though, but he's there on Sundays and he's there. He's just If he's listening, I hope his ears are burning. Right. Oh God, they've already started.
know.
They've already started giving their predictions. We've got to catch up.
Can't be bothered for you.
Bellevue versus Sheffield Premier POSF2 playoff semi-final 2.
Bellevue by 6.
Bellevue by 8. Don't copy me, Michael.
Bellevue by 2. So we're all saying that Bellevue is going to get through
Yeah.
to the final there. So, Peterborough versus Wolverhampton.
I'll go Peterborough by 10.
Well, I was going to say that, but I've got to say something different to you, haven't I? So,
No, you can copy me if you like. You
no,
know, you know how good I am.
there's no point in me copying you, is there? Peterborough by 8. I'm sorry.
I've forgotten that was here.
It's understandable. I'll stick with what I said.
Go on,
at the
then.
risk of making myself sound stupid, I'll stick with what I said last week and say Wolves by 4.
Okay, Edinburgh versus Redcar in the Championship. Edinburgh by 12.
Edinburgh by 10, I think.
Edinburgh by 6.
Okay, Leicester versus Scunthorpe in the Championship.
I'll go Leicester by 4.
Which all puts...
Well, Leicester, I think. Leicester are probably through, I think, anyway, aren't they? They've got a fairly big lead, didn't they, from the first league?
Leicester by 12.
Leicester by 16.
Glasgow versus Edinburgh.
Scottish derby.
Knockout Cup semi-final 1. I'm going to say a draw.
I'm going to say Edinburgh by 2.
Just because that's going to give me points over him unless he says a draw.
Yep.
I'm going to go Glasgow by 6.
Okay. Kent versus Leicester in NDL.
Draw.
3. You've just given up the will to live at this point, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'll go Leicester by 4.
Kent by 2. So we're all expecting a fairly tight meeting there. Poole versus TBC. To be confirmed.
TBC could win that, you know.
Yeah.
They're great, they are.
I would imagine that's going to be... I mean, I would
shall we?
Yeah.
Right, shall we do this? Shall we have extra points for
Double
the Speedway
points?
of Nations?
I think so, double points.
For who wins the Speedway of Nations?
Yeah.
Over the complete...
Over the complete weekend.
Okay.
Who's in it? It's GB, Poland. Is it Denmark? Oh, he's going to... He can't remember.
I think Denmark, it is, yeah. They said that early, didn't they?
I can't remember who the fourth team.
Yeah.
Is it Sweden?
By the way, we have finished this week's predictions anyway.
Have we? Oh, is that it?
We have, yeah.
Have we finished
We
this
have,
week?
yeah.
Okay.
The last one was the Kent-Leicester one.
Okay.
Right, okay.
So,
I see.
So
okay.
we finished.
so
Okay.
we will decide next week.
Next week we'll do the GB.
All right. Okay.
And we'll have a think about
We'll have a
it.
double
and
point.
We'll know of a fair idea what the teams are, won't we?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
We'll
have
do,
to say, disappointing that we're not going to see the new world champion racing in the Speedway Nations, but
absolutely.
Excellent.
Right.
That was interesting.
Okay, shall we have a look at where we are? Nice change to see Matt predicting a Wolves win on Thursday. He's usually the family pessimist. That's from Browne. Browne.
I think it's more blind stupidity than anything else saying that. But
halfway through the match, your dad came up to me. This is the match that we just lost to Edinburgh by loads. And halfway through the match, and he says, I've just got to go up to the board where we put the next meeting on. He said, I'm just popping off now. He says, I said, are you going to take him down? He said, no, I'm going to put Glasgow in. Which I just thought was brilliant.
Bring back the one-off Continental Championship and Australasian Championship cover.
But how do you do that? I mean, that was part of the World Championship. I find it rather interesting that Scunny have announced a couple of days ago that they purchased Jake Allen's contract. Probably the worst kept secret in Speedway, but the timing is interesting. And he thought it was so interesting, he said it twice.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. Just in case we didn't get the first bit.
Quite a few, there's already been quite a few moves. Something I think Richard Lawson's already signed contracts for 2 clubs for next year, isn't he? So
yeah, it's interesting that because we don't even
know what the format, unless that suggests it's going to just be carry on as they're going.
It does suggest that, doesn't it? But Speedway's a weird old game.
It's been really busy on the showbox sales, hasn't it?
Thanks, everyone.
It's been really
absolutely. That's what keeps the show
really
going.
busy. Yeah. And don't forget to still have a go if you want to have a go on the competition. Just stick your predictions up like Dave Twine has just done.
If you get a couple of results right, you won't finish bottom.
Yeah.
No.
Because that will be Lawrence Rogers.
No, I think there's 2. Well, I think there's 2 people beyond Lawrence actually.
Is there?
Is that? Can you get lower than
Can
naught?
you get
Yeah. Lawrence has got 1, by the way.
Oh, is he? Oh,
yeah,
right, okay. I see. He's still got a chance then.
because he predicted an away.
Lawrence isn't as dumb as you think, sir. I was going to say he's not as dumb as he looks, but that would have been unfair, wouldn't it?
Jack Holders mentioned his intention to stay at Sheffield next season. That'll be good for for British Speedway, in my opinion,
Good
says
for
Craig.
Sheffield.
Yeah, certainly.
And on that, Lawrence Rogers, nobody could be as dumb as he looks. Anyway,
God, you're in so much trouble.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lawrence.
We won't be seeing you on the centre green at Perry Bar next year, then, sir.
Not unless I'm buried into my head, just my head sticking out of the centre green.
Richard Lawson, owned by Glasgow Tigers, so the club he has signed for still need to negotiate loan deals with Glasgow.
We've mentioned this before. The rider will go to where he wants to go, and that's the end of that. If they can't negotiate a deal, the BSPL will do it for them, and that's the end of that. So,
but they do get a choice.
Who gets a choice?
The rider gets a choice, though.
Rider will go where he wants. Rider will go where he wants. That's ever since Ollie Olsen, isn't it? Really?
I suppose it's money, isn't it?
That pen doesn't like me.
No, it doesn't.
Going for a drink with some friends from Cradley Dudley, SC UK team in Cradley, East before Christmas. Looking for some Wolves Christmas gear just to annoy them.
I love it. What does Mike think of Riss' disappointing season in both leagues by Simon Corbett? I'm got to agree.
He's been disappointing. I think he's been disappointing, but he's shown flashes of brilliance, hasn't he? But it's just not been very consistent.
No.
I don't, this is on the basis of the Birmingham run next year. I don't see him being back at Perry Bar next year, to be honest.
I don't think he'll want to be.
Yeah.
I got the sort of distinct feeling that he didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
In fact, I could tell you, no, we won't. No, that's not fair. I'm not going to. Oh, now you all want to know.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to.
Yeah.
So tough. Even Lawrence calls him risky. Yes.
And on that note, before we get into much,
I mean,
much trouble,
I was at the beginning of the season. I was when he was announced. I was absolutely. It was just great.
Yeah.
But of course, what we haven't factored in is there's been a whole season of not racing in between.
Yeah.
It affects different.
Yeah.
people
He's
differently.
been disappointing, hasn't he? Who would be your rider of the year for Birmingham?
Probably Paco.
Not Bomber.
You sort of know what you're getting with Bummer, but a lot of people were writing Paco off, and he's proved them wrong once again.
Yeah.
And Jack Thomas, of course.
Jack Thomas has done well.
He's done.
He's done well. Yeah. Ashley Morris has got better as the season's gone on.
He's suffered from not getting enough rides.
Yeah, James Shine I think has struggled a bit. I think unfortunately for Jonesy, I think the problem that he's got is he's riding in probably a position above where he should be in the team. To be honest.
And your rider of the year for Wolves, Matt?
Ooh, I would say it's probably got to be Sam Masters. He's really come on in leaps and bounds this year, I think. Apart from at Peterborough, whenever he's ridden there, but hopefully he'll do well tomorrow. So.
Cool, there's lots of stuff coming in there.
That might be a good one.
Well, I want to go to the one on top first. Does Mike think Leon Flint will benefit from moving to a bigger track? Yes and no. He'd probably score more points at a bigger track. He's more comfortable, but he needs to learn the smaller track. So in the long run, I think he'd be better.
I'm fairly certain he will be back at Wolves next year because he's very highly regarded. Yeah. He's got better at Wolves as the season's gone on. Still not 100% comfortable. Certainly wasn't comfortable last week on a wet Mama Green track. So, but I think. I'm very optimistic that he'll be back, and I know that the Wolves promotion have got a lot of time for him, and very big high hopes for him.
What do you make of Troy back? Surely doesn't become a bad rider overnight. Sheffield fans last night reckon he's getting average down for Swindon return next season. Harsh in my opinion.
Well, there was people suggesting that when Nick Morris didn't have a very good season for Wolves in 2019, so
people will always suggest stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jack Thomas would be my rider of the year. I'd take him as Wolves' second rising star with Leon if they went for 2 next season. And Neil Faultless says Jack Thomas is the most improved. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, can't agree with that. Can't argue with that.
Okay, well, I think we're coming to that point in the evening when we say ta-ra. Just a bit of Birmingham colloquialism there for you.
Yep.
Thank you again for everybody for joining in. It's been brilliant. Looking forward to seeing you next week when hopefully we'll have a clearer idea of what the finals will be. You take care, everyone. See you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Speedway Tavern, what's the news today? Have a drink.